Good morning, everyone. This is Nikachu, Merfolk Master, and welcome to Coffee and MTG for December 24th of 2020, the morning talk show where we talk magic. Yes, we talk magic on the show. We love talking magic every single day. The first part of the show, we do Q&A and magic discussion, and the second part, we do Decklist review. If you've got a 75 that you want some feedback on, you can be eligible for that feedback, both from myself and the community. But today, I'm not alone. I got a special guest. We have a wonderful burn master on the show today that's been making YouTube content. So if you're looking for how to take burn to another level, you're going to want to follow this particular individual. I would love to very much welcome GG for Goblin Guide. Welcome to the channel.
How's it going? Thank you for the invitation, Nikachu.
You're welcome. I really appreciate other people who are dedicated to their decks, grinding, and also teaching the ways of those archetypes. I think that's the most important thing. Like, if there is a particular player winning consistently with a particular archetype, and I've looked at your stats, you've gone deep in modern challenges, many good finishes from preliminaries, 5-0s. So you have the reps with the burn deck. And burn is one of those archetypes, very hard to stick to. Also very, very, very hard because like the metagame can change in huge, wild ways that can either be very favorable for burn or not favorable whatsoever. So before we get into that, maybe tell a little bit about yourself, how you got into the burn archetype, and let our viewers know what's going on.
All right, so actually 7 or 8 years ago, I was on Affinity. That was my deck. I was playing a lot of Affinity. I loved galvanic blasting my opponent for the finishing part. That was really nice. So I always loved burn spells in general in Magic. Just an efficient way to finish the game. But then when Cans of Tarkir started, there was a new card, Monastery Swiftspear. This card... That was a really, really good card. Like, this card brought the burn deck from like top, let's say tier 2 to tier pretty much 1. Eidolon and Monastery Swiftspear brought the burn deck together. It was like the new Goblin Guide, and having the consistency of having one drop every single game, or almost every single game, brought the burn deck to the next level. And then Seth Menfield actually won Pro Tour, I believe, this very year.
Yes.
With burn. And that's when I decided I wanted to play that deck. And yeah, I started playing on Naya Burn with the Wild Nicaddles, and then I went from there, Burrows Burn. And I think for a long time, Burn had pretty good years of being in the top decks.
Of course, it was one of those fair decks that kept a lot of the unfair decks in check. Very much thanks to Eidolon of the Great Revel.
Yeah, it was called the police of Modern, pretty much. If you want to enter into Modern, you have to beat Burn. If you have a brew that cannot be Burn, it's going to be difficult to enter in Modern. So yeah, of course, recently Burn is a bit losing stats, because cards like, of course now it's banned, but they were printing like cards like Okos, Uros, Omnath, Weather the Storm, a lot of good cards to completely destroy the burn deck. And I explained it in a video on my channel, is Burn Dead. And unfortunately, those cards, it's not like a timely reinforcements, because timely, you can win through a timely pretty easily. That's fine. That's only 6 points of life. But Uro is a threat, value card, and gains life. That's like devastating for the burn deck, which wants to win with like 7 cards most of the time.
Yeah, it's like 3 mana, counter your future lightning bolt. Oh, by the way, there's also more. I mean, every single time it attacks, it's going to counter a future lightning bolt.
Yeah.
You have to deal with people being at like 30 and 40 life now.
Yeah, that's really hard. And the new card also, Omnath, is completely... It's like obnoxious how it is good against the burn deck. my opponent is going to play a land, gain 4 life, pass turn at my upkeep, and then upkeep, you crack the land, gain more 4 life. So you pretty much dealt with 3 burn spells.
Exactly. So basically, this is what has changed the tide for the burn players. And so you've actually picked up maybe a bit of prowess recently.
Yeah, I saw Monsieur Ayashi playing Mono-Red Obosh, and I think the deck is very good. I believe right now, of course, I'm not playing Purple Magic, but if I would go to a PTQ, I would probably be on Mono-Red Obosh. The deck feels really good in the grindier games, but can also cheese out and finish game really fast with your priority creatures. You have access to Blood Moon to just cheese out some games here and there. You have your priority creatures, Soulscar Mage, Monastery Swiftspear, to just finish up the game sometimes like turn 2, not turn 2, turn 3, turn 4.
I've been cheesed out by this card before.
Yes. And also, you have your cards like Seasoned Pyromancer, Light Up the Stage, which are all value cards. Like, the deck never stops. You're never going to stop doing things with your mana, which is really helpful when you're doing those grindier games in the long run. And it's going to pay off a lot if you know how to grind out your opponent.
And like I've seen them go to war with the Uro and Omnath decks. Like it's just a massive thing of one side is flinging poo at the other, and this deck really legitimately does not run out of gas. It always has something to do, and then when it has nothing to do, you just go grab a Bosch and then put it onto the battlefield, if nothing else. Well, thank you very much for that introduction. So let's catch up with the people here. Good morning, Papa Joe, Spencer Ward, Kelly, good morning. Jack Torborg, good morning to everyone from Argentina. Huge fan. Oh, fan of both channels. GP is here. Yes, Coffee and MTG on YouTube. Absolutely. I've moved from Twitch to YouTube. No one shows up for Coffee and MTG on Twitch. Not enough people. More people appreciate it over here. GG, officially internet famous. Absolutely. What are your thoughts on Wayward Guy Beast?
This card is really interesting. The first time I saw it, I kind of laughed, honestly. But it's a really interesting card, and recently I've seen it in a 5-0 burn list.
Ooh.
So yeah, I'm probably going to try it for sure, just for science. I think the card is good, but unfortunately it's not a 1-drop. That's the thing with the card. You're never going to play this card on turn 1 because you're going to grab your land back, and that's so much a loss of tempo with an aggro deck that sometimes it's going to lose you the game on the spot. So you want to play this card on turn like 3 or 4, where you can grab your land back. And then I saw the list that was playing this card with Akum Hellbound, which has landfall, get +2/+2. So the combo, what you do is you play Wayward Guide Beast, you go grab your fetch land, you take it back, and then you replay it, and next turn you have another +4/+4.
What is this other card?
Akum Hellbound.
I don't know how to spell that.
K.
Hellhound. I got it.
Oh, yeah, Hellhound. Yeah, it's from the new set, Zendikar Rising.
Oh, so, the step links.
So, Wayward Guide Beast, I'd say it's not a typical Boros Burn card, but it's a cool mechanic where you can have landfall creatures never out of landfall triggers.
Yeah, so it's going to facilitate the landfall for Akum Hellhound every single turn.
Yeah, so I don't think it's like an insane synergy, but I think it's cute, and definitely if they push more the landfall archetype, maybe someday it's going to be a very, very powerful card.
Awesome. Good morning, and also Merry Christmas to everybody, especially in Europe. They celebrate a day earlier. Where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Montreal, Canada.
Oh, we're Canadians. All right, so we're celebrating Christmas tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, in my family,
celebrate Christmas
midnight. So.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Get up. We have to be up very late for the morning.
Yeah.
When's the next BNR? We don't know. Nobody knows. Wizards will either give us warning or sometimes not give us warning, and then we just find out new cards are banned.
Yeah. And right now, I think for Modern, it's not going to be soon enough. Because with all the events going on right now, they don't really care that much about all the reconstructed formats.
Mm-hmm. Correct. The okay, so for anyone who's not familiar with the show, for us, a lot of people are commenting on Facebook, on Twitter, on Facebook and my YouTube channels. So for me to see your questions, it would help if you give 3 question marks before the question, 3 question marks after the question, to help me find your particular questions in the sea of all the comments. And by the way, I thank you very much for everyone participating in Coffee and MTG in the morning. It's great. We have a lot of engagement, really good stuff. Thomas says he's played you at the multi-zone.
Right. Yeah, it's a store in Gatineau near Ottawa. I went there for one summer because I had to work there. So yeah, and I played a PTQ there also.
Does Rockstar count as coffee? Whatever you want. Coffee, tea, whatever you're comfortable with, you just brew it up and you be here for Coffee and MTG. All right. How do you play against Uro Omnath on a macro level? I tried playing against it like typical control, but I'm having trouble converting those games to wins. From what perspective? Are we talking about the burn? Specifically GG.
Yeah, I think it's the burn perspective. If you're playing burn, honestly, I take Aura, Omnath, and Uro pretty much the same way I took Oko, which is when it hits the battlefield, you don't care about the card, just win. If you don't win right now, you're going to lose for sure, because even if you have like 1 Skull Crack, 2 Skull Crack, whatever, your opponent's playing control deck, so he's going to have Force of Negations, he's going to have Mana Leaks, stuff like that. So if your opponent is a good player, he's going to play Omnath with a land, and then he's going to play a Force of Negation to prevent the Skull Crack or anything like that. You have to win the game as fast as possible. And if you cannot do that, if you think your opponent is out of resources, maybe like they top deck in Uro or they top deck in Omnath, you can always decide from there. But I think against this specific deck, Burn cannot play control. They have to go all in aggro. And unfortunately, most of the time it's not going to work. So that's why Burn has difficulties right now against this deck.
What do you think the win rate is? What do you estimate it?
At the beginning, when deck first came out, I had a really good win rate because I think people were trying out lists, trying out the deck, and they were not sure of really what they were doing. So I think I had like about a 60% win rate, which is really good. But then in the later tournaments, when people got the deck pretty well, I lost a lot of games. So I'd say maybe...
So you had an experience advantage in the beginning from their inexperience, but then it went the other way.
Exactly, and now I think it's completely 180. So it's 40 for us, 60 for them.
That's really not that bad for a bad matchup, honestly. I mean, I would handedly take that against certain decks.
Yeah,
my bad matchups when they're bad are like 10%.
The Rolling Vortex in the sideboard helps a lot the matchup. It's like one of your best card. It's the Sulfuric Vortex for Modern, pretty much.
At the beginning of each player's upkeep, deals 1 damage to them, but if a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast that spell, it deals 5 damage to them, and you can pay a red. Opponents can't gain life this turn, but you can.
Yeah, so you can cast Lightning Helixes and stuff. Most of the time, it's not going to matter, but... the 5 damage part, people forget it a lot. I played an Urza deck.
The card has a lot of text on it.
Yeah, I played against an Urza deck, and my opponent played Emery. The turn after that, they brought back Mishra's Bubble from their grave and took 5 and pretty much lost the game on the spot.
You got to learn somewhere.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Everybody bolts the Goyf at some point and becomes a 3-4, and you lose the game.
Yeah, we all learn some. Well, yeah, I guess that's a huge advantage, though. Well, it's like that might actually be a secret advantage when Burn comes back, because people will again be relearning this interaction.
Well, the text on this card is pretty much, you have protection from force of negation. That's pretty much what it says.
For free.
Yep.
What's the current over/under for number of cards banned in 2021? I think at least 5. I think at least 5 cards are going to get banned. I don't know if we're going to get as many as 10. We got a lot of cards banned this particular year.
Yep.
How are your thoughts about all the cards getting banned?
I explained it in a video where I said that Wizards of the Coast are pushing a lot of cards lately. And I think most of the time players are not liking it because you push a card, then you ban it, then you push another card, you ban it, then it's just an infinite circle of we want to make money, so we push cards. I work in the local game store too, so I feel the experience of clients sometimes. Like, I just bought this card yesterday and now it's banned, like Euro. I'm not sorry, in Standard. I think Wizard of the Coast will not stop, but I hope they stop, because just infinite bannings and I think in 2018 to 2020 it was the most banning ever in history of Magic or something.
Yeah, for sure. It is. Yeah, like even for Standard, it's just absolutely nuts. Question for Gigi: do you play Burn as an archetype in other formats like Legacy?
I'm not too into Legacy. I play it for fun. Paper-wise, I play a Mono Red Prison, because Burn is not. It's like a tier 3 deck, honestly. In Legacy, it's not that good.
If you go to a Legacy GP, though, it will be everywhere. You have to have a plan for Burn, because it's definitely one of the few decks that you can play without reserve list cards.
Yeah, of course, you can play like Fire Blast, and then Price of Progress, your opponent's dead. You can cheese out games like that, but I wouldn't take it for a Legacy GP. I played a lot of Pioneer to Burn, not on my channel though, but I think in Pioneer, Burn is really good.
Well, you should be making videos on your channel then.
Yeah, I think people like Pioneer as well. It's a bit like right now. I think the format is a bit unbalanced, but it's gonna be fine if they ban something. Oops, all spells. Yep, that's too good.
But Burn is a really tier 1 deck in Pioneer right now. Yep. Oliver too picked it up as his deck of choice for the Mox Championship. And actually, I watched this game. He was up against, I think it was some sort of Sultai deck or something like that, and just narrowly lost. Like, he was running really bad with the way his draws were. He was getting lands at the wrong time or getting the most awkward spells. But Burn is certainly a tier 1 deck in Pioneer. Not so much in Legacy. Legacy, it must be really bad now. They've got Uro and Oko at the same time.
Yeah, that's rough for the Burn deck.
I don't remember. You'd have to get a really good string of matchups to get a 5-0 with Burn right now in Legacy.
Yeah. Well, I think more and more that internal formats will advance. The Burn deck will become less and less powerful for any format, just because more decks will be faster or combo decks as you go on, and Burn is a fair deck that wants to win like turn 4, sometimes 5. So that's just too slow for formats, and you cannot do like an efficient way to disrupt your opponent. Pretty much when you sit at a table, you say, all right, opponent, I give you 4 turns, do whatever you want with them. Let's play Magic. That's pretty much what you do. So
and throw 3 damage spells at their face.
Yeah.
Just kind of, we've got our Burn specialist here. Boros or Prowess?
If you're talking about...
Oh, yeah. So what kind of, I guess he's asking, what kind of burn deck did you play?
Well, for the past years, I was on Burn mostly. When Prowess decks came out, with Is It Phoenix and stuff, Mono Red Phoenix, that was a really fun deck to play. Of course, Faithless Looted got banned, so that's a bit sad. But
the Prowess deck didn't.
Yeah. And then I played pretty much every Prowess deck since in paper, I played pretty much every Prowess deck. But don't get me wrong, I don't play always aggro decks. I also play control decks and mid-range decks. Just I'm more comfortable with aggro.
Mm-hmm.
I play pretty much every lightning bolt deck there is.
With all the free life gain around, what do you think about sideboarding Reign of Gore?
I tried that card. Reign of Gore is really funny, honestly. The only problem I have with it is you Aether Gust and then you lose. That's the only thing.
Okay.
Aether Gust is just really, really good. Reign of Gore is really funny because I played against an Uro deck. I was playing Ragdoll's Burn, and I played it turn 2, and my opponent pretty much never played a card for the rest of the game because I knew he had like Uro and stuff in his hand. It was pretty obvious. The card is definitely really good when it works, but I think most of the time Rolling Vortex is going to be better, even if you have to pump mana into it. But Reign of Gore is definitely an, I think, underestimated Magic card.
So maybe we could get to a discussion topic. Like, what do you want to see from the Burn player's perspective in Modern? What kind of card would you like to see printed? Modern Horizons is around the corner. They might be they might print some goodies for the Burn archetype.
Well, I think Burn needs something like another Eidolon, but not another Eidolon. I don't know if you understand what I mean by that. Is Eidolon is like the card that only gets played in Burn pretty much, or sometimes Merit Prison, but that's a deck that is not being played a lot. So a card that would enter into Burn and that would like redefine the Burn deck, but not necessarily into other red decks. I could see like a creature, like an Eidolon, a 2-drop or 1-drop that do something with like pumps your burn spells or something. But I thought about a lot of cards, and most of the time I'm thinking that that's just too powerful. But then they print card like Omnat. It's pretty much the same thing. It's like same
Exactly.
power.
Is it possible you'd want some sort of creature with attached to it says players can't gain life?
Yes, I think there was this card in, I don't remember, I think it was Morning Tide. 2 mana for 2/2. When you deal combat damage to your opponent, they cannot gain life for the rest of the game. Don't know what the name is. I don't remember.
That card's ridiculous.
Yeah, that card is really powerful. If there was a card like Rampaging Ferocidon style, but for like 1 or 2 mana that players cannot gain life, that would be pretty crazy. Because even though, like, if this card could be bolted, it doesn't matter, because if you have it on the battlefield, it puts on some pressure and it prevents your opponent from gaining life. That's a 2-for-1 already for the Burn player. And if their opponent wants to gain life, you have to kill it. So I think that would be pretty powerful. Of course, I had some discussion with other Burn players that were telling me, oh, maybe we could print Price of Progress in Modern Horizon 2. And I think that would be completely a mistake, because that would break Modern. Honestly, this card is, you don't know how Price of Progress is good. Like, this card is broken. It's like.
But do you think other like non-burn decks would use this?
I think, honestly, yeah, I think so. That would be a finisher. Like, you could have like 2 Price of Progress in your deck. Do Price of Progress, Snapcaster Mage, Price of Progress, you're dead. And it isn't control deck, for example. Like, this card is just too powerful. The only way you can play this card in a format is if it's checked by Force of Will or other really cheap counter spells. Like, think about it. If your opponent has only 3 non-basic lands, still 6 damage instant speed. That's
what Burn needs.
That's better than Boar Charm. Yeah.
So Mikey says we're going to set the line at 7.5 cards to get banned. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
You're saying?
Yeah, I think another possibility, which could happen, but I don't think so, would be a card like Fire Blast, but maybe a bit nerf, like sacrifice 2 mountains.
I actually don't sacrifice. You mean, hold on, let's get Fire Blast. Okay, so how do you want to nerf this card?
I could see, like they did for Force of Negation of Force of Will, they could do like, instead of costing 6, it could cost like 3. 3 mana, deal 3 instant speed, or you could sacrifice 2 mountains to deal 3 cost. I think that would be fair for burn deck, and that would be...
I'm not gonna lie, I think this thing's fair right now in Modern. I don't think
Yeah.
it's that crazy. I mean, it's 2 mountains is a lot, and if it gets counterspelled by as much as like a Dispel or a Mana Leak, I mean that's gonna be that's backbreaking. So you have to be very careful when you play this card. And then if you play it on your turn to get around the counterspells, I mean they can still force and negate it. Sacrifice all the mountains you want, and if you like, I've played against this card in Legacy. I mean, like if you flood out on Fire Blasts, I can tell you got like 3 cards in hand. You're not playing anything, and I'm just ready. Yeah, I'm just ready for when you have 6 mountains and you just throw it all at me.
Yeah.
And if you want to play it earlier, you just nuke all your mana. So I think this card is good to go. Will they print it? I don't know about that, but and it would give you an answer to Omnath, I guess.
Yeah. Or another card that would be good would be like a cannot be countered spell, like a bit of Exquisite Firecraft, but like a better Exquisite Firecraft, which I was playing for a long time, my sideboard, until Aether Gust got print, because Aether Gust stops this card. Because that's a really good finisher against control decks. So a card like that would cost like 1 or 2, cannot be countered, deal a Lightning Bolt effect, but less good than Lightning Bolt, of course, would be also pretty good in the burn deck, I think. Yeah, but I just think you don't want to give burn too much power cards, because even right now the deck is not completely dead. And even if you check the MTG Goldfish metagame, the deck is in the top 5 right now because, well, I explained it in my video yesterday, but the rock paper scissor effect in Modern right now, burn is beating.
Burn?
Yeah.
Burn's in top 5 for MTG Goldfish?
Yeah, well, I saw that 2 days ago, and I did a video about it. I don't know if it's still top 5, but if you do like Modern 7 days.
Oh, we have to look very, very recently. Okay.
Yeah, if you look
recently, last 30 days. Okay, so 7 days. Okay, Burn is there in the most recent history.
But yeah, it got pretty good results in challenges and champs because it beats Rakdos Midrange and Hammer Time, which are 2 decks that are being pretty much like played right now in the big tournaments.
Yeah, Hammer Time is very, very popular.
Yeah, and when you play like 2 Deflecting Palms in your sideboard, that's really funny when you play against Hammer Time.
The deflect. Oh, I know you Burn players. You love your Deflecting Palms.
I love I'm a big lover of Deflecting Palm.
Deflecting Palm. 2 mana, just swing all the other damage. I'm sure it's like, you know, you're just licking your lips for this situation. Oh, they're going in for the big attack. This is what I got this card for. Let's just send it all straight back at you.
This card is hilarious when you're playing against like Boggles or Emrakul, just because it says choose target, and sometimes player will forget that it says choose, and you can just target your Boggles creature and hit them for like 15 damage.
What's the best Deflecting Palm play?
I think Deflecting Palm on, like I said, Boggles is really, really good because you just kill your opponent on the spot pretty much sometimes. Emrakul is also really funny. Most of the time, they're going to be at 15 or below if you're playing Burn, I think. And actually, in a PTQ, I won my winning in with Deflecting Palm on Emrakul.
Okay, how about this? Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast.
Oof. No, I don't think that's Modern worthy. I think those cards are too powerful. They're just too efficient for what they do. If you play Legacy or CDH and you play those cards, you see how those cards are problematic. Here's the thing. Everyone would want to play those cards, even if you're not playing aggro decks. You want to splash red just for this card, pretty much.
I'm going to get you Swift Spear. I'm going to get you. Finally, I'm going to have a card. You want to make that trade? You have Red Elemental Blast. I have Hydro Blast.
Yeah. I think, honestly, Legacy, red deck splash for Lightning Bolt and Red Elemental Blast. That's pretty much it. Why they splash red? Yeah, this card is pretty
Happens
good.
often. Okay, so hold on, I might have missed some comments. Okay,
Yeah,
if Uro gets banned,
I don't think
do you think
Nikachu would like that.
if Uro gets banned, do you think we'll see a comeback of the Boros burn?
Yes. I think Uro, Omnath are the most two problematic cards for Boros Burn to come back. Here's the thing. If you have only Omnath into a deck and you don't have Uro, the games that you're gonna get, one of the two, like just Omnath, is gonna be less consistent. But if you have both, you're almost gonna get at least one of the two every single game. So it's really hard for the Burn player to win. Uro is really difficult to beat. I still think like there would be a 4 control deck with Omnath, and this would be a hard matchup for Burn. But overall, I think Burn would come back into Modern.
What do you think are the best sideboard cards for Modern Prowess to beat Humans?
Humans is a pretty difficult matchup for Burn, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, and that's the thing that I hear a lot about. Most Burn players and Human players are not too sure about how like the matchup goes. I think most of the time it's going to be.
I keep forgetting to have Ether Vial. Now I know from like the Merfolk perspective that is such a beating.
Ether Vial is a real pain for Burn. Especially
because it gets around to Eidolon and just makes you deal so much damage to yourself. That card by itself actually is a really big deal.
There's going to be games like you're on the play, you play Goblin Guide, swing for 2, your opponent plays a Noble Hierarch, you Searing Blaze it, and you win the game. There's going to be a game like that all the time, and you're going to win most of these games. But they have so much disruption and pressure, which are 2 factors to win against Burn. You have to have a lot of disruption and pressure at the same time to win against Burn, or like too much disruption or too much pressure. But the really good combination is both. So Talia, Kite Self Freebooter, the new card, Marinier, is that card? The one changeling that can, all your creatures, you have to pay 1 more to be targeted.
Unsettled Mariner.
Yeah, Mariner.
Sometimes played, sometimes not. Good against Burn.
Yeah,
awkward
this card
against
Searing Blaze. Your Searing Blaze costs 4. So that's really bad. Other cards like Charming Prince, which I saw sometimes. Uruk Champion is so bad for Burn. Honestly, if the Humans player is a really good player and has a pretty good sideboard, it's going to be very tough for the Burn player to win.
Gotcha. So what are the sideboard cards you use to beat the damn thing?
Path to Exile is pretty much one of your best card because it beats everything in their deck. It beats Uruk Champion. So it's your only answer to Uruk Champion. But you have Skullcrack, but again, if the Humans player is good, he's not going to block on a Goblin Guide swing against Uruk Champion. So Path to Exile. Path to Exile.
Path to Exile. You heard it. Path to Exile.
Honestly, right now, I don't see a lot of Humans, so I wouldn't put construct my sideboard just for the Humans matchup. I would just say, okay, if I play against Humans, I'm gonna lose. That's it.
Other than Pioneer is cheaper than Modern, the accessibility of the card is still easier than Modern. Are you talking about just accessing like burn cards? That's quite likely the case, yes.
I'm not sure.
I think they're trying to say like getting burn cards are easier because like there's no fetch lands in Pioneer.
Yeah. So I think her mana base is 4 Sacred Foundry, 4 Battlefield Forge, 4 Vintage and Spring Vintage, and the rest is Mountain. So that's pretty easy. It's pretty cheap also. Yeah, if you're looking for like a good Pioneer deck, Burn is a pretty good way to go. It's cheap and really powerful.
Some people are talking about Stigma Lasher. What is this card?
Oh yeah, that's the card I was talking about for Morning Tide.
Can't gain life for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's the card.
Whenever it deals damage to a player, that player can't gain life for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so this card is bad, obviously, because
wow, this can be put into elementals.
Yeah, that's a funny thing I was thinking about the other day. Elementals has a lot of good potentials, lately, and
They can stack this on top of their deck with their Harbinger.
Yeah, and lately I think the new set is gonna have some shapeshifter, so a lot of new possibilities for tribe decks like Merfolks.
Hopefully.
And yeah, this card, the only
I'm not
problem
gonna
is
hold my breath.
that you pay 2 mana, it get bolted, fatal push that's just useless. You don't want to play a card and lose the damage as a burn player. If it would be 2 mana 2/2, your opponent cannot gain life for the rest of the game or something, would be way better.
Question for GG. Do you think that Abosh Prowess is here to stay, or will it depend heavily on the meta? Rakdos Prowess became Rakdos Shadow, Blitz dropped off. Might Abosh be evergreen in the format? Just before I hear your opinion, my opinion is that this deck is an evolution of the Arclight Phoenix Prowess deck, and the shell is just really powerful. It's going to have adaptations, but it, like, even with the banning of Faithless Looting, and I remember the internet just falling apart. Like, oh my god, they banned a million decks over Faithless Looting. They banned the Prowess deck. Look where the Prowess deck is right now, because you still have Soulscar Mage, you still have Swift Spear, you still have all the burn spells. Those things didn't change. Turns out they still have Faithless Looting with Seasoned Pyromancer. Love to hear your take.
I agree with you, honestly. Obosh, I think, is the evolution of those decks. I think right now there's not really good reason to play Mono-Red Blitz over Mono-Red Obosh. I'd say maybe Izzet Blitz if you want to have like more flyers or something, but most of the time Mono-Red Obosh is gonna get you there. You have so many things to do. I think this deck is honestly the best red deck right now in Modern, for sure. Seasoned Pyromancer took the deck to a next level. Honestly, this card is really, really good. The first time I saw it in Modern Horizon, I was like, this card is pretty good, but we have Faithless Looting, so But then we don't have Faithless Looting anymore, so this card is good.
You know, I thought this card was good. I was going to see Modern play, but I think I grossly underestimated this card. This card actually does so much because, especially when your hand is empty, you're literally just drawing 2 cards. So you get the season, you get a body, and you draw 2 cards. So basically, you got a 3-for-1. And on top of that, if it dies, you still can get value out of it. You can still do something with with the mana.
Like giving the power to do a divination in red and a 2/2 body, that's just crazy, honestly. And
divination and put a bear on the battlefield.
Yeah, and put a bear. And then you even have their last ability, which sometimes is going to be really useful to block a Tormogoyf and then swing on the backswing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, this card is the type of card red, I think, needed to push it to the next level.
Why hasn't Burn tried this card? Is it just not what Burn wants?
Here's the thing. When you have a Prowess deck, most of the time, like Lava Dart or Soulscar Mage, sometimes they're going to be very good early game, and then by turn 3, 4, 5, they're going to be not that good because your opponent's going to have a board or a Liliana of the Veil. And this card provides you of discarding, like, do you want to discard this card for a 1/1? Yeah, sure. I'm taking this trade for sure. Burn, you don't have like, I want to discard my Lava Spike for sure, because Lava Spike is going to be good early game and good late game. So, and you don't want to discard lands because you have like your Summit Canyons and you need your lands. So that's why I think this card.
Well, maybe the Burn player's absolute bane of their life is flooding out. This is some way of mitigating that. And if nothing, you just draw 2 random cards when you're empty-handed. But I understand, sometimes that last card still needs to be a burn spell. I know there's a lot of games that are won or lost on the very last burn. Like if your opponent's at 1 life, you top deck Seasoned Pyromancer and have to tap out to play it. It might be the difference between winning and losing the match.
Yeah, and sometimes you're going to have like a very important burn spell like Skullcrack, which you're going to keep like sometimes you have Skullcrack in your opening hand and you keep it for the rest of the game until you play it. And like your opponent does, all right, I have to cast Wither the Storm or else I'm dead. All right, in response, Skullcrack you. So if you want to play Seasoned Pyro, discard your Skullcrack, that's a waste of this card.
Okay, head on head. Burn versus Prowess. What do you put your money on?
You mean which one like would be better in a mirror match?
Yeah. Which well, it's not really a mirror, but
Yeah, it's not a mirror.
Burn versus
In a red
red mirror, I
modern
guess.
deck. Yeah. Um,
Who do you
if
think's
both
favored?
players are like the same experience, I think Monterey Bosch wins.
Okay.
I've tried out the matchup against, like I was playing Burn, and I think most Obosh players think it's the other way around. But Blood Moon is really good, and you wouldn't think that. But I always say that when I'm playing Burn. What is your sideboard cards against the matchup? You have Corfire Walker, Path to Exile. In your main deck, you have Lightning Helix, which is your best card pretty much in the matchup with Searing Blaze. And all those cards splash white. If your opponent...
Oh, I've sided in, I gotta tell everyone, I've been siding in Blood Moon against Burn, like almost every time.
Yeah.
And then the comment section's like nuts, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, look at all the all their cards involve, like the best cards involve white.
Yep.
You can cut off like a certain range of cards for the rest of the game if you've got that Blood Moon out. And now I can hear from you, it's even more impactful in the mirror match because of the core Firewalkers and the Auroch champions.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, I guess you does. Well, actually, what would you choose right now these days?
I don't play Corfire Walkers.
Okay.
Because there are not enough burn, and I don't think Corfire Walkers is that impactful in the like if you're able to cast it against Obosh, it's good, but they also have Kozilek's Return. So
yeah, they do have that. Yeah.
It's not that good, and most of the time you're gonna want to like fetch shock to get your double white. You lose 6 life. You play a 2/2 that gets killed. It's okay, but right now I'm playing Deflecting Palm because it's more versatile against a wider metagame. Ragdoll's of Shadow is really good against. Hammer Time's really good against. Yeah, and also the play is super important against any aggro deck mirror matches. The play sometimes is gonna win the game. Like you're on the play, you win game 1. Your opponent's gonna play, wins game 2. You're on the play, wins game 3. Sometimes it's just gonna be that, and you cannot do anything about it. That's Magic.
We need to ban the play. Yeah, what we need to do. I actually heard a lot of arguments that we need to give more of an advantage to the person that's on the draw, because right now in Magic, like the mana resource is too high impact. It matters too much for the person on the play. The person on the draw is on such a back foot. The fact that they draw 1 extra card is just not as significant. Maybe in limited it's significant, but in constructed it's not worth enough.
Yeah, in other card games like Hearthstone, they're giving, I don't know if you're familiar with Hearthstone. I'm
familiar. I played a little bit like 8 years ago.
They give like been around for a while. To the second player, so you have like 1 extra mana to cast it whenever you want, and even that is not like the person on the play is going to be advantage, even if the opponent has the coin. So in Magic, it's just worse.
How does it work? On the person on the draw gets 1 free mana?
Yeah, you have a card in your hand where it gives you any mana anytime. It's a spell.
Interesting, and it's still not enough. People, we're living in the past. We're living in a universe where you're on the draw and you're just dead. You're just praying that your opponent mulligans to 5, or even then, like when they mulligan to 5, they usually have a good hand. They're mulligan for the good stuff.
Unless you play Rack. It's Rack.
Unless we're playing Rack.
That's the solution, maybe. We just have all to play Rack. And
is Sulfuric Vortex safe for Modern? If not, when will it be reprinted into a standard legal set? It probably won't be reprinted into standard legal set, but I mean, Modern Horizons can print anything.
Sulfuric Vortex safe for Modern? I think yes. The reason is Aether Gust is a card. That's pretty much it. Honestly, Aether Gust is just a Modern defining card. It's in pretty much any blue sideboard deck. And sometimes going to be 3, 4 of, and sometimes main deck. I've seen a lot of main deck Aether Gust in my leagues.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you're an aggro deck. You spend 3 mana on a card. Your opponent says, "Okay, end of turn, put it on top," and you just lose the game. All right, that's not exaggeration because you just spent 3 mana on a card. Opponent, like, that's so much of a tempo swing that I think if it's printed in Modern Horizon, that would be fine.
So you should do is put it on the bottom.
Yeah.
You don't draw that damn thing again.
But I would play it for sure because it's a fun card.
How would you rate Atarka's command over Skullcrack?
I did a Naya Burn, tried out like a meme Naya Burn with like a Thunderous Wrath recently. And I was playing Atarka's command. And I think the card is super good. And it brings me back memories when I was playing Wild Nikachu.
Yeah.
Even in Standard, this card was really good. Honestly, most of the time, Atarka's command is going to be better because you have the option to give your creatures +1/+1. If you have 2 creatures, that's better than Boros Charm. You also have the option to prevent life gain, and Reach might sound stupid, but Reach is going to save you some couple of games sometimes. When Spirits was really popular, I was playing Atarka's command because you +1/+1 your team, and you block all their spirits. Here's the thing.
Got him.
Against the new Death and Taxes mono white that is seeing a lot of play because of Skyclave Apparition, Skullcrack is going to be better because you have the Lethal Text. Damage cannot be prevented this turn. So if your opponent has a Burn for Tender, Corefire Walker, a champion, and they block, well, they're going to lose their creature.
Yeah, damage can't be prevented, and protection from a particular color means that they're preventing the damage. So if you block pro-red on a if a pro-red creature blocks a red creature, you Skullcrack, they can't prevent the damage, and that just dies.
Yep. A bit like Bone Crusher Giant.
How often do you get people like this? Like, they clearly could have played around it by just not blocking. How often do you get people with this?
It's going to be 2 situations. I'd say the less experienced player that don't really know about this, you're just going to say, okay, attack with Goblin Guy. They're doing, oh, okay, block, and then Skullcrack. And then you're like, oh, right. I forgot about that. But the more experienced players actually work that against them. Because sometimes I'm not going to have Skullcrack into my hand, and I'm still going to attack, and that's free damage. Because most of the time, they're not going to block. So remember that if you think your opponent is a pretty good player, do that as your advantage if you can. And sometimes they're going to be they have to block because they're going to be dead or something, and just you get their creature anyway. But my overall verdict, Atarka's command versus Skullcrack. Most of the time, Atarka's command is way better, but you have to have green. Skullcrack is going to be better against pro-red matchups.
Are you okay with reviewing some deck lists that people like to submit?
Yeah. Yep.
You like looking over deck lists, even ones that you've even things like Death and Taxes and stuff? Yeah, people just want some feedback. Now, before we get into the deck list review, where can people find you?
So I have a YouTube channel. My name is GG for Goblin Guide. I started like 4 months ago just for fun.
I have to log. I'm not logged in here. I can't subscribe.
I don't have a lot of time because I'm still a university student, so I don't play on Twitch. But I try to post like about 3 video a week on Boros Burn, Red Deck Wins, stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, definitely go check it out.
Yeah, if you want to see Burn prowess content on a regular basis, is updating it weekly, and a lot of other fun videos as well. A lot of good content over here. So if you like GG for Goblin Guide, you go check them out. I guess you're gonna have to look up GG for Goblin Guide. Right now you have over 100. You have over 200 subscribers. You should have the custom channel name at this point.
Yeah.
Into that. Easily take GG for Goblin Guide if you want it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're gonna go into deck list review. So if anyone doesn't know how this works, you go into the description. There is a link to my Discord. Now from there, go into the deck list review channel, and then once you get there, use the command !review deck space and give the URL to your deck. Press enter. Don't do it in two separate sentences. So, and as people start submitting deck lists for review, we are going to quickly thank our sponsors, themanabase.com, your home base for everything Magic the Gathering. And the Manabase is sponsored by, where am I? Where's Fusion Gaming Online, my favorite local game store. And the Fusion Gaming has a deal of the week every single week. You always want to tune in every single week to see what the new deal is. This week it is 50% off a bunch of products, giant Xmas sale. And remember, it's a Canadian site in Canadian prices, Fusion Gaming Online. And we're also going to thank, where am I? We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below. Or if you want to test out one of your new brews with Mana Traders, you can do that by using my coupon code Nikachu to get 15% off your first 3 months. All right, let's review some deck lists. Let's go. All right. Amaskeg has a blue artifacts deck. Again, didn't we review this last time? I reviewed this one. I don't think there's anything different here. Oh, there might be 2 Ensnaring Bridge in the main deck. Okay, maybe we'll take a fresh look from a Burn player's perspective. What do you think about this list? Let me get this available. There were some adjustments. Ta-da! How is your Whir Prison knowledge? Look, we've got Ether Spellbomb, Chromatic Sphere, Chromatic Star, Conjurer's Bauble, 2 Ensnaring Bridge, 4 Mishra's Bauble. Oh, this changed with some of the feedback that we gave the other day. 3 Metallic Rebuke, 2 Whir of Invention, 4 Reverse Engineer. What is this card? Blue, 3 generic, improvise. Your artifacts can help cast the spell. Draw 3 cards. So basically 2 mana, potentially draw 3 cards. 2 Emery, 4 Urza, 3 Mirrodin Besieged. Now the idea with this card is it's got this, you could choose Mirrodin or Phyrexian. The Phyrexian one is at the beginning of your end step, draw a card, then discard a card. If there are 15 or more artifact cards in your graveyard, target opponent loses the game. And sideboard, not much in the sideboard here. Golem Foundry, Grafdigger's Cage, Torpor Orb. Here's a good question. Okay, we don't have anything for the sideboard. What do you think a deck, what are the best blue or artifact cards there could be in the sideboard of this deck against, say, the Prowess deck? Because we don't have much here.
Of course, like I was talking about, if you're playing blue, Aether Gust is your best friend against red X. 2 mana, you remove a permanent or a spell on the stack. Your opponent plays Obosh, you Aether Gust it. That's really, really powerful. I don't see, well, maybe not for the red deck mirror or matchup, but I think Pitting Needle is a pretty good card right now. And if you're playing an artifact deck, that's a really good card to consider.
Yeah, something that we can tutor and play with Whir of Invention, and also maybe just bring back from the graveyard with Emery, Lurker of the Lock.
Yep. And also, I don't know, it's Reverse Engineer. It draws 3 for 2. I don't know how much the deck is going to have mana available, but there is another card called Thoughtcast, which has Metalcraft. For 1 mana,
the good old Thoughtcast.
Draw 2. So if you have, most of the time, you're going to have 3 artifacts in the battlefield, I believe. So this could be another consideration. I don't know which one would be better, but I guess having Thoughtcast means you won't have to tap your artifact with your Urza, so you can keep mana up to play a Metal Rebuke on your opponent's turn. I don't know. Maybe trying this could be cool. I don't see the what are the artifacts?
We have just a bunch of mana making artifacts. Well, this one also bounce creatures back to their hand with either Spellbomb, and then these are Chromatic Sphere, Chromatic Star, Conjures Bauble. Put up to one target card. Oops. Put up to one target card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. This would be great if this was any card. That'd be fantastic if you could interact with your opponent, but it's only your own stuff. It's mostly a bunch of dirtling artifacts, to be honest. And then Mishra's Bauble. And we have one Ensnaring Bridge. I still would like to see the Karn package in here. Like, just another way of, like, locking the opponent out.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty good, because I think if you don't draw your Urza, the deck is useless. Honestly, you just have, like, empty artifacts that doesn't do a lot of stuff. And of course, you can say, oh, I can draw cards over time, but if you're playing against, like, Ragdoll's the Shadow, or a deck that puts some pressure on the battlefield, you don't have any Fatal Pushes, you don't have Inquisition, so you're not always going to have your bridge ready. So I guess if you want to slow down your opponent, maybe like splash black for Fatal Pushes, or it's just mono blue, or...
Well, actually, a lot of Urza decks, so some of the more, well, I mean, most of the powerful Urza decks were playing Oko, and then some of them adopted Uro. So that could be something to consider. I don't know if they're willing to put the green splash just for Uro, but, like, especially since you're dumping a bunch. Well, I guess it's a little contrary to the win condition, Mirrodin Besiege, because you need a certain density of artifacts in your graveyard, and you don't want to wipe them out with Uro.
Yeah, I guess.
But I would like to see I would like to see Karn in this deck at the very least, like, because we don't, you know what, like, I would love to Whir of Invention a toolbox of artifacts onto the battlefield, but you don't actually have anything to Whir of Invention in this deck.
Yeah,
for the most part. It's just Ensnaring Bridge, and if you have 2 Whir of Invention, then it might as well just be 2 more Ensnaring Bridge. But the best thing would be just to play Karn to go get Ensnaring Bridge or other useful artifacts. And maybe Emery is also, I was suggesting we need more Emerys, but in this deck that only has these cards, like, Emery will definitely draw an extra card every single turn, because you're just bringing back some artifact that draws a card. I don't know if that's enough, because we do need to dump everything into our graveyard. I'm just curious, for the toolbox packages, are any other artifacts that we can bring in? Chalice of the Void comes to mind. I think Witchbane's Orb is a card. I don't know if it's going to be good against Prowess.
Not Prowess.
Is it Witchbane Orb that I'm thinking about? What's you gain Hexproof?
Playtime Sanctity. Like, it's pretty much
in,
like,
you have Hexproof. Yeah, it's Witchbane Orb. So we have a little bit of protection from Prowess decks.
Also,
we'll have to kill us with the creatures.
Torment's Crypt could be a good consideration, because if you're playing against Oops-All spells, you have Torment's Crypt game 1 when you have Karns. If you have, like, 1 Torment's Crypt in your sideboard. But of course, you have the Gravedigger's Cage already, so I guess you could go fetch that.
And that's the thing, like, if you have the Karn package in this deck, we can just grab all this stuff, and then we can, I mean, sometimes you'll just win with Karn, and if not, we win with, we'll try to get the Mirrodin Besiege to lock on. Sometimes, actually, Urza can win. Don't underestimate the Giant Golem with all these millions of artifacts on the battlefield.
Yeah, I think the deck against a mid-rangey controlling deck, I think the deck could be pretty good, because I think you can grind out your opponent. But against the aggro decks, I think Bridge might not be enough. Of course, could depend which opponent you're playing against, but of course, Ragdoll's the Shadow, which has access to Thoughtseize, is...
and Kolaghan's Command.
Yeah.
I hate that card.
Kolaghan's Command is, like, really good.
I don't know how much of a budget you're on, but I might take out the 2 Bridge, 2 Whir of Invention, just play Karn, and that's going to be your tutor for, like, a wide variety of cards that we could have in the sideboard. Torpor Orb, Ensnaring Bridge, what's it called? Liquid Metal Coating, which actually often gets conceded from a lot of players. Wormcoil Engine. There you go. There's an answer to those Abosh Prowess decks. How good is Wormcoil Engine against those decks?
Oh, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. We got confirmation.
Of course, if you have, like, your Soulscar Mage into play and you have, like, Lightning Bolt, you can deal with Wormcoil pretty easily. Soulscar Mage is the key to deal with Wormcoil, I think, because a 6 lifelink, what you want to do against a red deck. Unless you're playing game 2 and 3, you might have other answers.
Anyway, I highly recommend a Karn package here. Because actually, I do see that we don't have enough stuff to whir for, and we still don't have enough stuff to whir for. And it just might be better to just grab this from the sideboard with all your mana. I hope that works out. And I hope that also, if you look at a lot of these Karn sideboards, I hope that inspires a bit of a sideboard for you.
Yeah, it looks a bit like Blue Tron, but you don't have the Tron package. You have like the Urza package, and Blue Tron is playing Karn. So that could be a pretty good inspiration if you want to check Blue Tron lists.
All right. So thank you very much for submitting the Decklist. I hope that is a little bit more feedback. I hope that pushes you in the right direction. Something to work off of. All right. So next, we've got Kalingi just trying to put a work on goblins for Pioneer. Interesting. We might have Pioneer goblins. Interesting. All these cards are Pioneer legal. This deck looks great. Hold on, let me share it. Okay, so we got Foundry Street Denizen. 4 of them. We've got Goblin Banneret, a red mentor. And it's got a red and generic. Goblin Banneret gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So we have a mana sink in the late game. And it can just make things bigger even without mana. Legion Loyalist, that's a really pain in the ass to play against. Haste 1/1. Whenever basically Loyalist and 2 other creatures attack, your creatures have first strike, trample for some reason. I don't know why the trample part, and they can't be blocked by creature tokens this turn. Rigging Runner, first strike, raid, Rigging Runner enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it if you attack with a creature this turn. All the 1-drops. Conspicuous Snoop, and this is a very heavy Goblin deck, so you're going to get some value with this Conspicuous Snoop. Goblin Pile Driver. You're playing a lot of Pioneer. How much blue is there in Pioneer right now?
Not that much, honestly.
Oh, damn. Can I make use of this Pro Blue?
Yeah. Goblin Pile Driver, well, there is blue, but Goblin Pile Driver is not, Pro Blue is not going to be that good because there are not a lot of blue permanents. I guess if you're
blue spells, protection from Ether Gust while on the battlefield.
Yeah, that's good though. If you're playing against like Niv Mizzet, you can attack through there and Niv Mizzet, so that's cool.
There we go. Mizzet has nothing on this Pile Driver.
Yeah. But I think just the +2/+0 is just like you need to deal with this card or you lose the game, pretty much.
Do you have any experience with goblins?
Yeah.
Red deck?
Yeah, I was playing, well, a long time ago, 8, not rack, but whack. And
yeah, the 8 whack deck.
Mono-red goblins.
Saffron Olive special.
And honestly, the deck is not to be underestimated. Of course, in Pioneer, you don't have access to Goblin Grenade, which is really good. But I think the Lex can speak. The deck looks interesting because you have your Snoop and you have a lot of 1-drops. So you can go, if you have like 4 mana up, you can do like a mystical forge kind of effect and play all your 1-drops. That's cool.
We're running Rabble Master, Crankotin Street Kingpin, Legion Warboss, Light Up the Stage, and Embercleave. Embercleave's a bit of a nasty one. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Embercleaves are cute with your Goblin Rabble Master and Pile Driver, but I think 3 might not be the right number because it looks like you have a lot of 1-drops, and I could see just your opponent like Fatal Push, and then you're really sad. And like I guess you have a lot of token generators, so that could be good if you have like 3 or 4 tokens. The Embercleave just costs 2, so that would be nice. The one thing I like in a red deck, even if it's a creature deck, it's really always fun to have like some ways to remove your opponent's creature, which are annoying because you have 0 while /0 lightning strike. So I could cut like some goblins to try to put some burn spells in, and that's always direct damage. If your opponent clears the board, you can top deck a burn spell just to win on the spot.
How do you feel about light up the stage? Or like what would be the weakest goblins you might want to cut? Give yourselves that reach.
I think Goblin Banneret. I think if you're playing a red deck that has that much 1-drops, most of the time you're not going to pump the mana. Like you're always going to do something with your mana.
Right. Okay.
It's a deck that wants to do on curve. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess finish up the game with Embercleave. So maybe cut some of those and try to bring like more burn spells. Maybe not all of the package, like 4 /4 lightning strike, but maybe a combination of those.
Yeah.
Also, there is a good card. I don't remember the name. It's a 1-mana hasty goblin, which you can tap it to deal 1 damage. That's a pretty versatile creature. I don't remember what's the name. It's a goblin pirate from Ixalan.
We got the hive mind here. What's the goblin pirates? These aren't goblins. They look very much like goblins.
Yeah, this creature is versatile because you can swing for 1 at the beginning of the game, and then later on you can just deal 1 damage to a creature that has 1 toughness, or just 1 damage to your opponent or planeswalker.
Do we want Castle Embereth over the ruins? So we look at the mana base here. It's like a million mountains and then Ramunap ruins.
Castle Embereth is the line you want in this deck. You have so many creatures, so many cheap creatures. I think I would run.
Were we talking about Fanatical Firebrand?
Yeah, that's the card. I think this card might be better than the Mentor one.
Okay. Yeah, it's still got your 1/1 with haste, but it can actually just shoot the opponent. Also turn on light up the stage sometimes.
Yeah, that's also a good synergy. Yeah, I think Castle Embereth would be 100% better than the ruins. Because when you're just in top deck mode, you don't have anything to do with your mana. You can just pump your whole team for like, if you have 4 goblins, that's 4 damage for just a land. That's pretty good.
Well, how about this? Can we add both? There's 22 lands. I mean, 4 of them are Ramunap ruins. Like I don't see this coming into play tap very often.
No, I think 2 or 3, maybe just 2. Yeah, 2 would be good, I think, instead of 2 mountains. In my Mono Red Pioneer, I was playing 2 castle, 4 ruins, and 16 mountain, and that worked pretty well.
Okay.
And I think 22 lands might be too much in this kind of curve, because you have a lot of 1-drops, a lot of 2-drops. I would go to 20, I think.
Okay, so you think there's too many lands?
I think 22 lands might be too much.
Well, how about 21? Because there's not that many 3-drops.
Yeah, that's
we have a decent. We need at least 21 lands to cast the 3-drops. I don't know if the 22nd one is necessary though.
But in standard Mono Red, I was on, like most players were on 20 lands, and that worked pretty well with Embercleave, and you were even playing Torbran main deck 3, and that still worked well.
I guess light up the stage makes up for it.
Yeah, light up the stage helps a lot the red decks. This card is really good. That's the type of card when I saw, I was like, this card is pretty good. And then later on, I was, this card is very good. 1 mana to draw 2 in a red deck. That's crazy.
What are your thoughts on experimental frenzy in these decks?
Yes, in the sideboard, I think that would be a very good card.
Where would you bring that in?
Against everything.
This is basically Snoop on an enchantment, but you can play your lands, which is OP.
You have so many 1-drops in this deck that I think this card is really powerful. You could do like really crazy turns of putting like 5 cards from the top on the battlefield. Yeah, I think this card is really good. Even though you have Snoop, this card is still, I think, would be bringing like maybe 2 or 3 copies in the sideboard.
So what is this? Do we have a sideboard here? So we have a sideboard. So what are we, if we are, what are we removing from the sideboard to make room for the Experimental Frenzy? We
I
got 2
think
Tornmod's Crypts. We have 1 Lightning Strike here. Very odd looking amongst all the other cards. 3 Rolling Vortex, 1 Damping Sphere, 3 Searing Blood, 3 Abrade, 2 Goblin Chain Whirler.
Rolling Vortex, as good at it as it is, I think doesn't work in this deck because you play it in the burn deck because you're always going to have instant speed things to do. So if your opponent doesn't gain life, end of turn, board from your face. Rolling Vortex in a creature deck doesn't work that well because every time you're going to want to have 1 red up to prevent your opponent from gaining life. And in a creature deck, you want to advance your board with your creatures, not necessarily your Vortex. Because, like I said, burn, you don't have, like, the creatures in burn are not creatures. They are burn spells, pretty much.
Yeah.
So this deck, you just want to play out your board. So I think Rolling Vortex might be cut here. And
okay, so we can cut that for the potentially Experimental Frenzy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lightning Strike,
we said we should have some in the main deck.
Yeah, I think I could bring that Lightning Strike in the main. Or
and maybe cut out those lands.
Maybe Wild Slash also. Wild Slash is, like, it's a shock, but it's still pretty good in Pioneer because you have a lot of creatures that has only 2 toughness.
Okay.
I love the Chain Whirlers and the creature matchups.
And for the Goblin Mirror.
Yep.
We're gonna make this deck we're gonna make this deck popular enough so that this Goblin Chain Whirler was there all along to anticipate the Goblin Mirror.
Yeah. I think Damping Sphere was good before the bans in Pioneer, but now I don't see that much of a use to it in a red deck. Because before there was what's called Underworld Breach combo.
Yep.
And Damping Sphere was pretty useful against them, but now...
Well, the Lotus Field deck still exists.
Yeah, it still exists, but I think with this deck you might have a pretty good matchup since you play everything in your hand. And
okay,
I think I would cut the Damping Sphere, depending on how many...
It's only a 1-of.
Yeah. Depending on how many Upsal spells you see in your metagame, I would maybe bring up the Torment Script to 3 copies. If you don't see that much, I think 2 is fine. But Upsal spells is a very good deck right now in Pioneer.
Is Tormod's Crypt the best graveyard hate card for this type of archetype?
For this deck specifically, yes, because you don't want to waste your turn 1 playing a Torment Script and not a 1-drop. You want to play your 1-drop and your Torment Script. Okay. Or you don't want to waste your mana not advancing your strategy.
Okay.
If you're playing more of a mid-rangey or even burn deck, I could see another type of graveyard hate like Rest in Peace or something like that.
Gotcha. Well, that was great. That was great stuff. I hope that was some useful feedback for you, Klingy. I believe that was submitting the deck list. So yeah. So anyway, that's it for Coffee and MTG. We've got to thank our special guest, GG for Goblin Guy, for showing up today. It was fantastic showing and some great insight on Burn and Prowess and Modern. And I hope we had and it was really great that we saw this Goblin deck. I think that was some really good feedback for the a Goblin archetype in Pioneer, especially since you are actually playing this format right now. I haven't played it since I don't know, since COVID started, to be honest. I haven't played this format in quite a while. I'm waiting for MTG Arena to make their Pioneer open or something, and then I'll start getting back into Spirits. How much Spirits do you see in Pioneer?
Quite a lot, honestly.
Good. That sounds good then. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready to play Spirits in Pioneer. So, I mean, if you like this stuff, don't forget that GG for Goblin Guide has a YouTube channel where you can find more content about Burn and Prowess. You're going to want to check them out over there. And also, don't forget to give a like and thumbs up wherever you are on either the YouTube channels or Facebook. I really appreciate it. And as usual, if I didn't get to your comments or questions, we do this Mondays to Fridays, 9 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time to about 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. And we'll always be here, Coffee and MTG. So, You know what? I'm going to. So for everyone on the replay, this is going to be it for today. But for anyone watching live, you can follow me. I'm going to go stream on Twitch. We'll get in a quick stream for today. Put the link in the comment section. And so I hope to see you there. But for everyone on the replay, thank you very much for showing up. Thank you again to GG for Goblin Guy for being over here, engaging with our viewers, talk about prowess and Burn and Mod. I'm sure a lot of people had a lot of questions about Burn. Where is Burn's position? Where is Burn going? What do we need for Burn to come back? It's going to be the banning of Uro. And I can almost guarantee you it is going to happen. When do you think Uro is going to get banned? How about we finish that off? Finish off with that.
I hope it's soon, but I don't think it's gonna be soon. I think it's gonna take quite some time for Magic to get interested into what is going on in their formats again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like Wizards, they like just ignore certain formats for like 6 months and then wake up, whoa, this format has turned into a complete pile.
Yeah, like 4-color Uro has a better win rate than Splitter Twin for the longest time. So
oh yeah, it's a incredible win rate. And maybe it's difficult to tell because there's so many different types of Uro decks. It's not exactly one cohesive deck, but I mean they're all doing insanely well. All right, well we're gonna wait for that. See Burn get back on top. So as usual, you keep brewing the coffee, and we'll keep brewing up the magic. See you guys next time.
Bye bye.